Let's join Hussein Abaza from Cairo to talk about it. So, Hussein, do you have us? I know we've had some interesting times trying to get connected to you, but can you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Okay,
perfect.
Good. We've got a little bit of a delay, but if you could look up a little bit and make eye contact with the screen or with the camera, that would be great. And let's talk about your experience. Thank you very much. Let's talk about your experience. What was it like to go through the program with Al Gore?
Well, it was really an interesting program and really an eye-opener to attend one of those training sessions sponsored by the Climate Reality Project. I think it was at that time held in Turkey, and it was one of those very well attended training sessions. And it was a sort of a continuation, really, of the interest I did have on the environment and on climate change in general.
Now, first of all, I'm looking at a gorgeous day behind you in Cairo. So that to me is just an amazing shot to see you sitting there talking with us halfway around the world. But now, in conversations before, you've talked about the importance to get sustainable development. One of the key components is bridging all socioeconomic levels. So you mean all levels of employment, all levels from poverty to the most wealthy. Explain a little bit more about that idea.
Yeah, sure. You know, my experience with Saudi Arabia has been that, I worked in Saudi Arabia for some 6 or 7 years even, and that was through a project with the United Nations Physical Planning Project initially, and in 1973. And at that time, the oil prices were very low. I mean, it was almost $3 per barrel as compared to the hike in prices in 2016, where it dropped again now, but of course in 2008 it reached around $150 a barrel almost. So my experience has been that a country like Saudi Arabia was increasing oil prices at that time, and since '73, that meant a lot of money pouring in the country. And it provided a huge potential for the country to really invest in more sustainable development projects. But at that time, with the oil prices at that level, even falling below the price of water, as people would like to say at that time, it wasn't that much, a pressing issue at that time, and one would wonder, I mean, myself, I did wonder, how can we trigger the interest not just of policy and decision makers, but also of the general public in making a transition to a more sustainable sort of path at that time. But my involvement later on was more when I joined the United Nations Environment Program, and this is where we try to see how we can trigger this kind of interest, because it's not just addressing climate change issues or environmental issues in general, but investing really in the environment itself provides a lot of opportunities in terms of opening up new economic, let's say, activities, venues for investing in more sustainable sectors like renewable sources of energy, like renewable water resources, production of biogas from wastes, and so many opportunities. Transitioning to a sort of more sustainable path does offer. And in doing this, in a country like not just Saudi Arabia, but also the Gulf countries in general, and even other countries, it does, of course, diversify the economy, as we said, and especially in a country like Saudi Arabia and Gulf states. investing so much in or relying so much on one source of economic sector as the main source of income.
Yeah, it's not smart
really
for a nation,
sustainable.
right? Exactly.
So
Hussein, can I interrupt you for a second? I just want to ask you, I want to get to the conversation about business.
Not really, but
I want to ask you a question about
Yes.
business. We've talked a little bit about people getting involved, but
Yes.
how important would it be for the business climate, for businesses to actually get involved?
Absolutely. I mean, this is because I mean, investing in the environment, or investing in that. When I say environment, we're talking about, as I mentioned, the solar energy, and we're talking about water resources and other sectors, environmental sectors. This is really good business, and this is what we're trying to say here, that investing in the environment is not, or should not be seen as only as an obligation, or not an obligation at all. It's really an opportunity, because as far as the business is concerned, I mean, it's good business, because first of all, you use your resources in the most efficient way, you reduce waste, and you're more efficient, and hence you're more competitive. You can access more markets with whatever you produce. So it's really good business in moving into environmental investments. And from the public point of view, or from the government point of view, as we were saying, it creates new jobs, or more jobs as well, and more sustainable jobs, because I mean, whether we like it or not, oil is going to be depleted one day or another. So countries, and I think most of the countries in the Gulf states, and especially Saudi Arabia, they have realized the importance of shifting to investments in renewable energy, into efficient sources of processes that uses energy in a more efficient way, and that covers most of the sectors, really, not just household sectors, but transport, industry, and it's really very encouraging to see a country like Saudi Arabia.
Like Saudi Arabia, exactly.
That has historically depended. Yes, like Saudi Arabia has depended mainly on fossil fuel as the main source of income, shifting into other sources of energy and yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
I appreciate it. I just thank you for
Hello.
talking a little bit. Can you hear me now? I thank you for spending some time to talk with us a little bit about Saudi Arabia, so that we'll better understand, and spending your time from Cairo with us today. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it.